Hi, I'm producer Jacob. We like to have fun here on Busted Pencils, but one thing that's never fun is accidentally spoiling some information about Christmas that some parents might not want their children to know. That's why I'm letting all of you pencil busters know right now, before the show begins, that this episode contains spoilers about Santa Claus. I think you know the one I'm talking about. So just be aware of that before you start listening with any little ears in the cornfield. And now, please enjoy the show. Oh, yeah, and don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. Ovaltine.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! It's the Busted Pencils Christmas Eve Spectacular.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Yay! Hello, Bedford Falls! My all-time smash hit comedy classic Gigolo today!
We're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
I'm too much.
Bust pencils. Yeah. Grab those pencils and bust them. 12 shows of Christmas. You don't wanna miss this. Johnny Illumination. Tim Slaker. Producer Jacob. Sit your ass down and learn.
Oh, man.
I'm ready.
How much more Christmassy can that be, Jacob?
I don't think it's possible for anything to be more Christmassy than the Busted Pencils Christmas Eve Spectacular.
Christmas Eve Spectacular. And in case you guys are like, what? It's still Busted Pencils, though, fully leaded education talk. Maybe it's fully leaded with silver and gold tonight. Can lead, silver, and gold? I don't know.
Can you draw with frankincense?
It sounds like an alchemy issue potentially, but no. Jacob, Merry Christmas Eve to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas Eve to you as well, Tim. What a great year of Busted Pencils it's been, huh?
Ooh, man, I tell you, right. I'm still worried about Johnny.
I know. I feel bad because it's the 12th show of Christmas and he loves this gimmick so much, but he couldn't be here for the ultimate show of Christmas.
Well, okay, so you know what it is, right? In case people don't know, Johnny, Jacob, me, Tim, we're men, and it is Christmas Eve, Jacob, and what does that typically mean for men?
It's time to dress up as Santa and break into your own house on the Ring camera for the kids to see in the morning.
Oh, Jacob, no. Holy crap, I got to do some Christmas shopping.
Yes, you're right. And then, Tim, I have not yet, so you're absolutely right. I better leave this studio pretty quickly.
So, Dr. Johnny Lupinacci is, he's making that Christmas Eve run to guarantee that there is joy on Christmas Day, So, Jacob, I'm thinking about this. It's a class is in session, right? I'm going to stay true. I'm going to try to teach a little bit here, but, staying with the theme. What do you know about the origins of Santa Claus?
Oh, hey, that's a pretty good question there, Tim. I think I know the things that any smarty pants college student would know about Santa. Like you could say, oh, he's actually a Norse pagan tradition that got picked up by the early Christians, or did you know that Saturnalia, they had a guy with a beard who would bring a cornucopia over to the Romans on their holiday? I have a patchwork of half-completed thoughts about potential origins of Santa Claus, and I would say the best answer that I have is I believe the actual Saint Nicholas was a saint from modern day Turkey. Maybe am I picking up anything anywhere near a true thing about Santa?
I tell you, one of the things that's obvious from you getting to this is you must listen to that podcast. The rest is history,
but not well, evidently.
Well, but the fact of making reference to the Romans and stuff, I'm pretty sure I listened to that same episode last year, unless that was just part of your general knowledge.
Tim, it's so hard to tell where my knowledge comes from. That's why none of my papers get A's, because I can't cite anything. I just absorb information from the world around me.
All right. Well,
actually, most of my information comes from listening to Busted Pencils. What a show that is. I think we can all agree.
Well, I yes, it can be, but I'm thinking it's just like, okay, what is the history of Santa Claus? And
I'm interested to learn this.
Yeah, he's right now he's on his way. He's got a lot of work to do tonight, and so my guess is he's already out and starting to do the hard work. But
and he told me he's doing all this year when he came in to record that beginning of the intro for today.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to go, refer to that. I was like, wow, man, you got the big guy in.
Yeah, Terry Barr knows him, and she got me in contact. Terry knows everybody.
Wow. How awesome. We're talking about great guests and appearances, but how many podcasts can claim Santa Claus did our opening?
I know. I tried to get him to come on the show, but he had Hannity tonight. So that didn't work out scheduling wise, but he dropped in for the intro.
He's always got to make an appearance on the War on Christmas episodes, so, but no, Jacob. Okay. So yeah, let's get to it. And in fact, I don't have the ding, ding, ding button for your answer of St. Nicholas. As far as we can tell, he may be potentially the earliest kind of, what do you want to say, image and or identity and or personality that may have contributed to Santa Claus, Saint Nick. In fact, Jacob, how many times have we referred to Santa Claus, jolly old Saint Nick?
Yeah. Very linked figures throughout history and the lore of Christmas. I'm kind of interested to hear how this situation with Santa evolved from being a normal, very strictly religious saint who lived in the real world into being the mythological Santa that we all know who actually lives in the North Pole now. How did these figures diverge from each other? What's the story, Timothy?
Well, there's a lot there. And what's the story? There might not be the story. There might be stories.
Yeah.
A story here, a story there. Wrap that all together, and maybe that's how we get to the big guy showing up on Busted Pencils right there, Jacob. But hey, just a little bit of background. Saint Nicholas. It was Saint Nicholas of Myra, somewhere around the year 270 CE. A Greek Christian bishop, Jacob, and you nailed it, in what is now Turkey.
Boom! Look at me knowing things about Santa.
There it is. Thank you, Jacob, for dinging for yourself. I appreciate that. What else do you know about Saint Nick?
Well, other things I know about Saint Nick, I kind of have a big gap in my knowledge of Santa from what did you say, in the Common Era? Did Saint Nicholas actually live?
230. Let me go back to my notes. Yes, people, I am using my notes.
Which is not a bad idea.
270, the Common Era. Yeah.
So 270 AD. Yeah, you heard me. 270 AD until there's a huge gap of several hundred years. And then I know that I believe in the Victorian age, the modern idea of a Saint Nicholas starts to emerge. Is that anywhere near an actual piece of information?
It may be, but I will go back to my own understanding of Saint Nicholas, and it's kind of what you put in there, and people have listened to the show. And if you need to go back and listen to all these to actually catch up so that you know what I'm talking about right now, hey, Civic Media, go there. You can get every one of our shows. But Jacob, there's a hint. A Greek Christian bishop, Greek right there, Greek Orthodox, potentially, coming into the Byzantine area and stuff like that. So, as a practicing child who was a Byzantine Catholic, in fact, we sat on Saint Nicholas's lap when we were in church.
Really? So
Yeah.
there is a maintained tradition of none of this Santa Claus nonsense, but he's still Saint Nicholas to us.
Sorry, but when we're doing Christmas and the Nativity and all that stuff here, you kids are sitting with Saint Nick.
Hey,
So,
fair enough. All right. I guess that's the original name. And you and I, speaking of things you and I have already talked about, there are many different traditions, even just talking about Christmas, even just within Christianity, not even factoring the multiple different religions out there. But, in the UK, I know he's Father Christmas. I know for the Orthodox now that you've taught me, there's Saint Nick himself. So this guy that we all know and love apparently has multiple different names.
Yeah, lots of them, and we're going to go through them. But yeah, and what's the connection to Christmas? Well, not a lot. Again, how much of this is imposed? From what we know, generous protector of children, patron of sailors, and secretly slipping coins into the shoes or stockings of those sailors is what we think we know. And according to the Greek Orthodox calendar, December 6th is his feast day, which there was a gift-giving tradition then around December 6th. So how's that for the best busted pencils take at the beginning of what would become Santa Claus?
I think it makes perfect sense to me, Tim, that you find in this saintly figure of St. Nicholas these gift-giving traditions that over time get translated into sort of a patronage of this larger, you want to call it a feast / a gift-giving holiday. It makes sense, and it's the sort of thing that you see a lot through history with the evolution of these figures and these celebrations. But I'm wondering, how do we go from the patron saint of sailors and sneaking nickels into people's socks to the jolly old white-haired, bearded, rosy-cheeked fellow we know and love today?
Well, you are just really being very disruptive today in class. We'll get there.
I'm sorry.
We'll get there.
Tim, I'm such an inquisitive mind. I can't help it.
So here's an aside to this show. So Jacob, the other thing that really starts to happen, we could do a whole show on this, the age appropriateness of when do you stop believing in Santa Claus?
What do you mean?
Well, there you go. We in my church never had to stop believing, because we always said, oh no, Saint Nick, he's real. He's true.
That is interesting. So if you,
how about that?
You and I were talking about it, and I asked you on a previous episode, does the modern secularized commercial Christmas even have that big of a religious component to it? And I think our Santa with the red hat and everything, he's part of that tradition, of the more secularized selling things on Christmas version of Christmas. But it's interesting, like you're saying, if you keep Santa more in the religious zone, no, he is Saint Nicholas.
Right.
Well, then, yeah, he never is a myth. He's always part of your religious beliefs.
I got no, I believe in Saint Nick.
I think I'm going to try to incorporate this into my own belief system.
You're like, wait a minute, okay, because yeah. Anyway, so just an aside, so yeah, when is it appropriate?
Quick question, Tim. Did
Yes.
any saint ever give people money when their teeth fall out? Because if I can incorporate that, I might be able to keep a lot of the things I like.
Nice. I do not know that. We'll have to do another show and do the research for that.
We'll get back to it.
We'll get back to it. But and yeah, on the side, I don't know what age appropriateness is for for people who enjoy Christmas. When do you tell your kids that actually the stuff in the closet hidden behind the clothes you guys bought and that there is no Santa Claus? Hey, Busted Pencils, we are not going to produce any type of this is when you do it because, hey, it depends, right, Jacob?
It does depend. I think it's contextual. Every kid is different. My brother Colin just turned 21, and we're thinking about telling him soon because, you can't live your whole life with it. But I think it's contextual, and it kind of reminds me of something else we talked about on a previous Producer's Choice where I asked you guys is a little bit of youthful rebellion good for a kid? In other words, if there's nothing to rebel against, is something lost anyway, in that situation? And the same way, I think it's good for kids to learn a sense of skepticism based on their own story of learning the truth about the holidays.
Mm-hmm,
I think that process is part of growing up. So I wouldn't want to rob my own son, Jacobito, of the pleasures of learning these things. I think it's part of it. My tip for all those parents out there would be, let them find out. Leave it alone. Let them find out.
Hey, make it there. All right, Jacob, next.
Yes, sir.
Again, now, because actually, truly, what's our timeline? It kind of depends after St. Nick. But what is probably more closely that then brings us to Santa Claus comes from the Netherlands. And Jacob, do you know who came from the Netherlands?
No. Oh, Dutch Santa.
Sinterklaas.
Sinterklaas, of course. It sounds so close.
Right. I mean, and there you see it. It comes right there. This is for some people too. You might see this. This is the guy on a horse wearing green, not red, Jacob, green, and dropping gifts. And here's the thing. I don't know how true this is, but putting gifts in shoes. Okay. So,
probably wooden shoes. Let's be honest.
Or did Sinterklaas steal the slipping coins into socks and saying, "I'm going to one up you. I'm going to put stuff in people's shoes." Okay, but all that is kind of going like, so why do we hang stockings? All right, here you go. I think you can figure it out right now. But yeah, Sinterklaas. And in fact, though, what a big time span. 270 and yeah, Jacob, please. AD, let's be honest. Most people are like, what the heck, CE? AD.
I'm just stubborn, really.
But 1600s to 1700s, Sinterklaas in America with the Dutch. And come on, Christmas and Santa Claus, it's American. So, we jump right from AD to where stuff always happens. That's America.
That's interesting to me, Tim, that we're taking such a big leap again from St. Nicholas to the introduction of Dutch Santa Claus to the United States, which was then not the United States, but North America. That's interesting to me. Big gaps here. And I guess that explains how these things change over the course of time, going from Greece over to the Netherlands and then 100 years later to the North American continent.
And really though, what you had talked about in the opening though is like, so what happens in between?
Yeah.
And this is where there might be some people offended. But a lot of paganism throughout those lost years really becomes influential in setting up what we know Christmas. So don't have enough time in the show tonight, but everyone from the Vikings, as you point out, to the Romans, there is some form of a contribution
Mhm.
of all that time adding to what we end up calling Santa Claus and everything we do Christmas.
So Santa Claus is kind of like a taco made in Wisconsin. You know,
There you
we're borrowing these different cultural elements, and then suddenly there's a cheese curd in my taco. Well, you know, we're all coming together and we're adding to the legend of this taco. It makes perfect sense.
It's inclusivity right there. I know we're not allowed to do diversity, equity, and inclusion anymore, but come on, Santa Claus is truly only exists because of inclusion of all of those different things. But hey, you know what? It does make it kind of what we start going to America. Jacob, though, you did hit another one, though, when you were kind of going, I know I remember this and this and this. Well, Father Christmas. And Father Christmas, England, Jacob, England.
Boom.
There
Introducing
you go.
the English side of this story.
Yeah. And, you know, hey, not a whole lot. Father Christmas didn't do a whole lot with the kids. He was, you know, what you might say, he was a drinker.
Okay.
You know,
Now
liked,
I'm glad Johnny's not here because he would be heartbroken by these dark stories behind Father Christmas. I'm glad he doesn't have to have his Christmas interrupted.
I mean, you know, Father, and actually, though, you start to see the contribution to what we're at today. Feasting and partying, you know, merriment, you know, the vibes. And so
Yeah.
Father Christmas brings that gathering, feasting, and you know, throwing some back if that's what you like to do.
And is this going to lead, Tim? Are we moving towards? Because I know something about the Dutch is that they colonized part of North America, and I know that the English are influential in North America. Are we
Oh.
heading to a lot of these things coming together?
There you go. Because where is that Wisconsin taco example you made? Well, it is America, that melting pot where all of those things come together. And in New York in the 1800s, Washington Irving.
Boom.
Yep, satirical piece referencing the Dutch Saint Nicholas in New York. Jake, oh wow, man, give yourself a ding, 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 ding again there. Okay, or one that works.
No,
too.
Tim, I'll give myself one more ding for that. All right.
Nice. Okay, Jake, and so you have Irving there, and then this also combines with Clement Clark Moore. Jacob, do you know what he wrote?
Not in the slightest.
'Twas the night before Christmas.
Ah, okay.
Okay, and
Mad respect to Clement.
yeah, Maverick. So you put that together, and what did Clement contribute? Sleigh, reindeer, chimney delivery, the Santa body type, and
Pleasantly plump.
you know, and jolly. You know, so yeah, you see this all coming, you know, coming together here, Jacob. It's starting to make sense. Now, what does he look like at this point?
Very good question.
You know, we don't know, except you know of these people. Well, here we go. Civil War era now in America.
Man, I hope
We-
Santa was with the Union. I couldn't take it to learn that upsetting historic fact.
Thomas Nast starts putting together drawings, introduces us to the North Pole Workshop, the Naughty and Nice list, a little bit of the what they say the suit vibe,
Yeah.
and some elves. But Jacob, at this time, Santa Claus is identified wearing what color, Jacob?
Wait a minute. I'm going to go with Green, because that's what Santa
Green.
wore back in the Netherlands.
That's it. I mean, that green held on for a long time, you know. In fact, I would say, you know, if I could show you around my house right now, I have a couple green Saint Nick Santa Claus, you know, not green skin, but a green wardrobe.
You know, that it kind of reminds me, because I was going to say you still see a little bit of Green Santa out there in the world, and it reminds me of from Scooby-Doo, Shaggy. He always wears a green shirt, but I remember there were a few times where he had a red shirt for some reason. I was like, what was that all about? So sometimes these iconic outfits can switch just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now, Jacob, when do we get the real Santa Claus?
Tim, I think I know, but I don't want to spoil your story.
I mean, it is so American.
Is it when Coca-Cola codified what Santa looks like?
Ding, 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 right there. Coca-Cola in the 1930s, in fact, drops the green outfit and gives us the bright red suit. Santa Claus, the Santa Claus that we know and love, who is the real, true Santa Claus. Thank you, Coca-Cola.
Is he red because Coca-Cola is red? Is that why?
Yeah, that's it. It's a great advertising
That
pitch.
is a great ad.
For Coca-Cola, but and boy, it stuck, right? Because we know that if you happen to, on this evening, Christmas Eve evening, if you happen to get up and possibly go around the Christmas tree and spy somebody putting presents under there, he will be wearing red, Jacob.
Well, it's like Michael Jordan has to wear Nike. Santa struck that deal in the 30s with Coca-Cola. He always wears red and drinks Coca-Cola.
There it is. I mean, that's it.
He would get sued so hard if he came out in a green suit right now. I get it.
You know, yeah, there it is. And so, I mean, so class in session, Christmas Eve, Jacob, that is, you know, so where does Santa Claus come from? I think we covered it right there. Yeah, guess what though? Throw in a little bit there. Goes like, well, what about the flying reindeer? Now, Jacob, where did the flying reindeer come from?
The North Pole.
Well, yeah, that's true. Okay, but who gives us?
I don't know. I'm interested to learn this one.
My favorite people, the Vikings.
Really?
Yeah. Now they didn't have a flying reindeer. It was Odin who would fly through the sky on an 8-legged horse.
I'm glad we dropped half the legs on the reindeer, because it would have been a little odd if they had 8 legs. So that's just another contribution along the road from St. Nicholas to modern day Santa. I assume that started with Scandinavian Christmas traditions.
There you go. Scandinavian right there, you know. So again, people are like, how did we get to where we are? And I think this is a great lesson, classes in session, because who Santa Claus is today, boy, it took a long time to get him to who he is today. Lots going on, lots of learning, but didn't get the memo that inclusion is out.
I'm sorry, Santa. You have to be a Greek saint from Turkey again.
No more, you know, you got to go back. But yeah, you know what? And here it is, classes in session. Merry Christmas, everybody. And Santa Claus is the mixture of multiple traditions over about almost 2,000 years to get us to the fat guy in the red suit who you know, the M&Ms catch that one Christmas Eve, and the one M&M faints and Santa Claus faints. So there you go. A Christian saint to marketing M&Ms.
Tim, the modern Santa that you remember from your childhood in the 1970s is would have been to the 1940s guy or the 20s guy before Coca-Cola showed up. That's not what Santa really is. You can't change Santa and do this. Or when Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was added to the thing, he doesn't have a red-nosed reindeer. That's not part of how Santa's always been. So I think the lesson here is over time, every once in a while, a new thing catches on, whether it's about Santa Claus or, the Frankenstein that I know is different than when, 30 years from now they've got, oh, what do you mean Frankenstein always has a hat?
Yeah.
I've always remembered him with a hat. Yeah, he changes over time.
Hey, and not to get, but Frankenstein will always be Fred Gwynn from the Monsters.
And Tim, it's Christmas. We've got Frankenstein and Myrrh. And we're having a great time. And I want to thank you for educating me. I feel more like an educated educator thanks to your history of Santa Claus.
And with that, Jacob, history of Santa Claus, Merry Christmas on Christmas Eve. And now it's time for your moment of Zen. The chief problem in historical honesty is not outright lying. It is omission or de-emphasis of important data. The definition of important, of course, depends on one's values.
Christmas, Pencil Busters! Thank you so much for listening to this special Christmas Eve edition of Class in Session. If you enjoyed it, then Santa has good news for you. Go ahead, check under the tree. What's that? Yes, you're right. It's Homeroom on Monday, the Producer's Choice Show on Friday. And over here in your stocking, it's 1 hour of your favorite blue-collar scholars, Tim, Johnny, and Jacob, every Saturday to help you keep busting pencils.